Good evening, Star Wars fans. Thank you for joining us and tuning in to today's episode of the Star Wars CCG Holocast, where we bring you news from around the globe of all things Star Wars CCG. Tonight's show is a great one, recapping the Endor Grand Prix. It was an excellent weekend, and we've got some information coming your way regarding its success. Yeah, so as we said, the Endor Grand Prix has just finished wrapping up last weekend. It was an amazing weekend put on by Mr. Chris Wharfs. Everyone who was there, I'm sure, had an amazing time and enjoyed the whole weekend. Jeff Levine, though, he must have enjoyed it the most as he came out Endor Grand Prix champion. Well done, Jeff, and congratulations on a win. You know, he got through the field of some top-class players. We think of ones like Hayes Hunter, Bill Kafer, who'd had a great run through the OCS in the last couple of months, and then obviously two-time world champion Joe Olsen. So well done, Jeff, to come out the champion of all those guys. He was joined in the final confrontation by fellow teammate Brad Reinhold. Rounding out the top 8 though, we had Kyle Callan, Brian Fred, he's a staple in the Endor Grand Prix. Brian actually finished 3rd, so not quite in the finals, but he gave it a good run. We also had Cone Meidson, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. He was a fellow European who flew over to represent Team Europe. As we said, Bill Kafer and Joe Olsen were also in there. Joe and Bill, both excellent players and deserved a place in the top 8, but sadly couldn't quite make it all the way to the finals. And then rounding out the top 8 was Jeremy DePaulo, one of our very own Gemp Slicers, and a guy who does a lot of things behind the scenes, keeping this game going. Talking of decks though, I'm sure you're interested to know what people were playing. There was quite a mix, but what we're going to do is going to cut to our guy on the ground who's going to give us an interview and briefly talk about what decks were being played this weekend. Yeah, very interesting this weekend with the deck building choices. You know, leading up to the event, we'd seen Rops and Legend in particular make it a bit of a resurgence thanks to recent VSET starting interrupts and an epic event that really put those back on the map. I think Be With Me, you know, it's an excellent Ray booster that deck was needing, and also the Moment of Triumph for Darkseid just to help it get that activation going. And recently as well with the Inquisitors, you know, solid Imperial characters, easy to deploy, excellent stats. They've really, given Rops the things that it needed, as well as we had the new Walker as well with Blizzard 8. So, you know, some great cards that Design have been bringing out to bring certain decks back onto the scene, and we'd seen that, you know, through the OCS and the Outrider Cup. Surprising, I think, to everyone, was that not a single Legend deck was played for the entire weekend. You know, we thought maybe, you know, you'd see it on either day 1 or a day 2 deck, but no, everyone was staying away from that. Rops, while it was played a number of times or by different players, wasn't the number 1 deck, which, you know, I think some of us were expecting that to be. Instead, you know, for both sides, it was really a tale of 2 decks. For Darkseid, they lent heavily on the Aliens. Shadow Collective is super strong. You know, its ability to ping damage, to spread out, and to negate a lot of its own battle damage through the weapons being forfeited, and also starting a Gick on table, just makes it a super strong, solid deck. We did see through the weekend though that there's been some adjustments, and that deck has been taken down a peg or 2. The other deck that we saw a lot of people playing is the old CCT, which I am disappointed by. You know, I was hoping to see a mains deck appear this weekend. I'm a big fan of mains and toys, and we didn't see that with the Darkseid, but rather CCT. It's an excellent platform. We think of, you know, every turn from turn 1, you're going to be retrieving a force pretty much from your objective. Sorry, my computer keeps crashing and the screen has gone off again. But yeah, so you get your force retrieval, you've got all your tricks, and then you've got Ig, who's going to find, you know, all the cards that you need. So piecing together, whether it's your space or your ground packages, you know, it's a lot easier to do that.
So interesting, the two top decks really for Darkside, Shadow Collective and CCT Scum. So moving over to the light side, again, kind of like two decks. One deck maybe, but actually in like several different iterations, and that was Communing. You know, Communion's one of those epic events that's come on the scene to make light side mains really pop. It's a super fun, epic event to play, and it's really powerful. So we saw Communing, you know, his ability to peek at the force pile, and then you can either move it to the bottom, leave it where it is, and then use Qui-Gon's text to put a card in the use pile and draw it into hand. That's just great for finding the cards that you need. You pair that with OG Ray, and if you've lost a Jedi during your game, you're looking at 2 cards. So that is a super strong platform for light side. So we saw a lot of Qui-Munin. The other one, Obi-Munin. No, I'm only joking. No one wants anything to do with that crazy old wizard. It's a shame really, but what we did see was a lot of Yoda Munin. And what's interesting with the Yoda Munin is people are using it in different ways. So we saw, you know, some just went strict ground, heavy ground package, or maybe just the odd starship with landing claw just so they can get their space presence for things like battle plan. But the other half, we saw 8 people play Yoda Munin, 4 ground package, but 4 went with space. Brad Reinhold, who made it all the way to the finals, he played it quite a heavy space deck with Wedge and Luke in their X-Wings. He played Rapid Fire and X-Wing laser cannons, which, you know, they're just super strong when you think of most Darkside decks are going to be playing the Emperor's Shuttle, Zuckuss the Mist Hunter, Slave One, Ellison Hinthra, you know, all starships with fairly low maneuver, so easily shot down by the X-Wing laser cannons. But yeah, just a really interesting deck choice throughout the weekend. Very heavy Communing on the light side, and then alien decks on the dark side.
One thing we wanted to ask was this rumour about Joe Olsen and Jeff Levine working together. Can you shed any light on that situation?
Yeah, that's right. So there was a rumour that's come out since the weekend that Joe and Jeff have been working together. I think it's fair to say that at last they have shown themselves to the Jedi. In true Darkside fashion, always 2 there are, the Master and the Apprentice. You know, one to wield the power and one to desire it. And Jeff, you know, he's obviously a good apprentice. He's had an amazing run when we think about this year, where, you know, he came in the top in the Jawa Cup, in Backmouse's Gen PC, and now to go and win the major Endor Grand Prix. Let's see what happens for him in the rest of this year and other majors. Hopefully we'll get to see him, you know, maybe a world champion in 2022. But until then, I'm going to hand back to you in the studio. Thanks very much.
It doesn't matter whether you're new to Star Wars or you've been playing it for decades, or even a 2-time world champion. Mistakes can still be made. See if you can spot this one in our next clip.
Going forward, you feel like there's going to be a little more pressure on you for events and more eyes on you now? The name people know more so?
I don't know.
So the weekend didn't go smoothly for everyone, and mistakes are made. Plays aren't caught by the players sometimes, and it's a complicated game with a lot of things going on. In our next picture, it's a bit like Where's Wally, but can you spot the mistake that was being made by both players in this match? What is it that makes playing Star Wars so much fun? It's the card, isn't it? You know, when we think about how amazing these images are, they really excite us, and it's playing these kind of guys that keep this game going. The PC continues to pump out excellent new images with every new set, with new cards and updated cards. Just check out set 18 for some amazing images. But we also have fans who love to make their own. Just check out these new AIs that were made from the Endor Grand Prix. That brings us to the end of our show this evening. I've been your host, Andrew Davis, and it's been my pleasure to bring you Star Wars news here on Holocast CCG.